Hey guys, I just wanted to make a short and quick video for you guys so you can reference while you're working with simplifying expressions using the laws of exponents. Okay, so when you look at your star chart, right, and you have a problem with a whole bunch of exponents and different parts and components, and remember that these items right here, right, these are your main operations. So remember, your four main operations are multiply, divide, add, or subtract. The only two that we look at, right, for laws of exponents are multiplying and dividing. So if you can identify whether you're multiplying or dividing, right, then you go to this side and it explains for you what to do to your exponents. So the left-hand side is how your problem starts, right? That's how it's going to start. This over here on the right-hand side, that's a visual representation. That's a picture of what you do to your exponents, right? So the left-hand side is telling you to multiply on this one, right? Your base is A and A, so that means on the right-hand side, you just add your two exponents, okay? So on the next one, this one is a fraction. It's a divide problem, okay? Your bases are A and A. So it's telling you to subtract your exponents, okay? Whenever you have parentheses on the next one, power to power, right? That means you have an exponent on the inside, exponent on the outside. That means that you multiply your exponents. We're not going to really do any that look like this, okay? That one is just a rewrite problem. You take the numerator and you leave it as an exponent underneath the square root, and then the denominator just comes over here on the outside. Okay, but we're not going to focus on that one. The one we are going to focus on is down here, the negative. Whenever your base has a negative exponent, you follow this rule. You drop it below your fraction, your exponent becomes positive, right? And you put a 1 at the top. If you already have something as the numerator, then you leave it there. Okay, so if this was 2a to the negative n, only the a to the negative n is what's going to go down there. Only your base and your exponent are going to move. So then 2 would stay up here at the top. Okay, that's just a little explaining on the laws of exponents. Okay, because I feel like some of us were still struggling. I'm gonna do two quick examples with you, and they're problems that are a little more difficult than what we've been seeing. Okay, we did have one of these on our assignment that we did. When you have an expression with multiple parts like this, okay, it's best that you first identify the main operation or operations involved, okay? So in this case, when I look at this problem, I automatically see a divide, okay? Remember, the main operation tells you to divide your coefficients. So on this problem, my coefficients are 5 and 8. That's my coefficient and my coefficient. Okay, if I cannot simplify them, then I'm going to leave them as a fraction because it's easier for me to understand a numerator and denominator, a top and bottom of fraction, than it is to understand a decimal. Then I'm not going to know where my other letters belong. Okay, so I'm going to keep it as 5 over 8 so far. And I'm going to make a long fraction in case I have to put things on the top or the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to move to my base. Okay, in this case, I have two different bases. I've got a y and I've got a g. Because I have a y down here at the bottom, that means that I have to apply my law of exponents, okay? The law that talks about divide, remember, quotient, divide, tells me that I have to subtract my exponents, okay? So that's what I'm going to go do. When we set these up, right, we put everything at the top of your fraction until you have to move it down because it's negative, okay? So far I'm going to have y. If I do 2 minus 4, I'm going to get a negative 2. And then my other base is g to the third power. That is still inside parentheses, right? So I still need to put that little 2 out there. Okay? Before I start moving around my negative, I want to distribute my power to power. Okay? I have to take that 2 and give it to every coefficient and every base. Okay? So now I'm going to have 5 to the second power. I'm going to have y to the negative 4 because I multiplied them. I'm going to have g to the sixth power, and that is over 8 to the second power. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to keep 5 to the second power and 8 to the second power, so we don't have to simplify those. So I'm going to keep that like that. 5 to the second power over 8 to the second power. So now I have to ask myself, is there anything else that I can simplify further? If you notice, we have a negative exponent with our y. That's the one that I'm going to have to move to the bottom of my fraction. So that's the one that's going to become y to the fourth power at the bottom. See how that g6 is just a positive? So it's going to stay up there at the top. And that's my final answer. Okay. Okay, so now we have one that is a little more difficult. It has two main operations this time before a power to power. Okay, so if we look, right, and ask ourselves, what is the main operation or operations? Okay, automatically the two that stand out to me are, first of all, divide, and then I see a multiply. Okay, remember when we do PEMDAS, it's multiply and divide. Those are the same importance level. Same here. I have to work from left to right. So I'm going to want to simplify my divide first. I'm going to want to simplify this part first. The whole point of simplify is to make it easier for ourselves, right? So I think that it's easier to simplify the division before we multiply and then before we do our exponent. Okay, so I'm going to simplify my fraction. My coefficients first, right? That's main operation with my coefficients. We get 3. I'm going to keep it as a, no, we don't need to do a fraction because it's simplified, right? 45 divided by 15 is 3. Okay, so now I'm going to move to my base. I've got x, y, and z. So my x is going to become squared because 5 minus 3. My y, 4 minus 2. And then my z is 1 minus 3. Okay, that's only my fraction. I still need to multiply it by x to the fourth, y to the third, and then z to the first power. So you see, it looks a little bit easier. I got rid of my fraction. Just going to move it down a little bit. Okay, so now I've got multiply. I'm going to look for coefficients first. I only have a 3, and I don't have anything on that side. So 3 is going to stay like that. my bases are x, y, and z. There's my x, my y, and my z. So I'm going to combine those two. My operation is multiplication, so that means I have to add my exponents. So then I'm going to have x to the 6th power, y to the 5th power, and z to the -1. Okay, see how it's getting a little bit shorter on the inside? I still have that power to power, so that means I still have one more thing to do. Okay, so I'm going to take my exponent. Remember, I'm going to distribute it to my coefficient and to each base on the inside. Everything gets it. We're generous, okay? So now it's going to be rewritten as 3 to the 3rd power, x to the 18th power, y to the 15th power, and z to the -3. Okay, so our last final step is to get rid of this negative. We want to try to rewrite it so we have all positive exponents. Okay, so that is the only thing that I have to drop below my fraction, right? I'm going to make it a fraction. That's the only thing that goes down there. So my final answer is going to be 3 to the 3rd power, x to the 18th power, y to the 15th power, and that's all going to go over z to the 3rd power. This was just a random example that I made up. I just wanted you to see my thought process and how we work through it. So remember, guys, identify the main operation, okay? Then you have to identify the coefficients. Okay, if there are no coefficients, then you just have bases. Okay, and then it's most important to know what your exponents are. Okay, guys, if you do not have a letter base, right, and let's say our base was just 1/2, that is your base. The 1/2, you can have a number as a base. Your base, remember, is the one that has the exponent, right? Bases can be numbers or letters. It doesn't have to just be a variable, okay? I hope this video helps you out a little bit with those problems that are a little bit harder, okay? Remember that laws of exponents you do not have to memorize. If you can identify what the main operation is and what's happening in the problem at the beginning, the start, right? Then you can go check your star chart, look on the right-hand side and see what is it telling you to do to your exponents. Okay, good luck, guys. Make sure you go and finish your Khan Academy assignments. I will see you soon. Stay safe.